And just a comment, I was outside just a moment ago and walked in. It smells a lot better outside this room than it does inside this room.
I hope that's not a personal comment about the author of the bill.
You don't notice it if you've been here a long time, though. But you do if you just come in. So, you know. Exactly. With that, you may proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would say this is a simple bill, but I think I'll just dispose of that right now. But let me start by saying of the 11 amendments offered in the analysis, I think we've reached agreement on all of them with some tweaking to a couple, which I will address in more detail toward the end of my statement. For the past 22 years, the California District of Choice program has opened new doors for countless students across the state. It's provided opportunities for students of all backgrounds to attend public schools and meet their specific needs. The District of Choice program fosters public school choice by allowing parents to transfer their children to participating school districts without a transfer agreement. This program is set to sunset in July of 2017. SB 1432 will instead extend the program for 5 years and clarify requirements for districts and students. Whether it's for academic opportunities, safety concerns, or even proximity to a school, District of Choice empowers parents to make the best decision for their children, not school administrators. By allowing parents to choose, the District of Choice program promotes first-rate performance and innovation in our schools. The very possibility of a parent removing their child from a certain school puts healthy pressure on school districts to perform their best to attract and retain students. Simply put, District of Choice rewards policies that work and discourages policies that don't. The reauthorization of District of Choice in 2009 required an evaluation report from the nonpartisan legislative analyst so that we could determine what our next steps for reauthorization would be. The LAO report, released in January, was overwhelmingly positive about the benefits of this program. I provided a copy for you all today and have Kenneth Capon with the LAO here to answer any questions you may have. Some highlights from the report. The state has 47 districts of choice serving 10,000 students. Transfer students have varied demographic backgrounds. The program provides transfer students with additional educational options. Almost all students transfer to districts with higher test scores. Home districts often respond by improving their instructional offerings. The report also offered some recommendations, many of which we have adopted in this bill. The recommendations were reauthorize the program for at least 5 years. SB 1432 is reauthorized for 5 years with another LAO report to monitor the program. Repeal the cumulative cap of 10%. SB 1432 now has a rolling cap. We didn't repeal it, but we put a rolling 10% as originally when it was first introduced. Assign the Department of Education specific administrative responsibilities. We have been working with the department and think we have language that accomplishes that goal. Implement a new oversight mechanism. We had to take this out due to concerns from some groups. Now we're adding back in from committee recommendations. Improve local communications. This bill clarifies communication roles. We sought out initially to address most of the LAO recommendations further, improving this already successful program. However, many have been taken out on our journey to this committee. However, the bill now is simply a 5-year extension, clarifies the 10% rolling cap, as it was always intended to be, and has a new legislative analyst report at the end of year 3. Regarding the 11 amendments proposed in the analysis, we agree to, as said before, and we're working on 2. So we agreed to 9, 10, and 11. We have agreement on, as I understand, and we'll clarify that a little bit. On the issue of transportation amendment, while I remain concerned about this requirement, for the sake of keeping the program alive, I can agree to what you have offered, free transportation to, and I think this is the latest iteration, free transportation to free and reduced lunch children upon their request, phased in 3 years, more LAO reporting on transportation options, transportation to be provided in a 2 to 10 mile radius outside district boundaries, capped at 1/2 of the supplemental grant, with waiver availability to the state board if districts can't provide the program for cost purposes. Also as discussed, I cannot take the first proposal contained in number 7, as there continues to be concern about school districts self-certifying themselves and the potential for abuse with no real oversight, but willing to accept the second provision, and I understand we have agreement on that as well. The bottom line is this program is actually working to the benefit of both the students in the District of Choice and the district of residence. A true win-win. In closing, I urge you to please support this legislation, which empowers parents who otherwise have no options for their children. Most can't afford private school or don't have time to homeschool. This program helps parents seek quality education for their child while keeping them in the public school system. I have some witnesses here today to speak to the merits of the program, beginning with Dr. Charles Hinman, Superintendent, West Covina Unified School District, followed by Cecil Hernandez, parents of triplets participating in the District of Choice program.
Proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Charles Hinman. I'm the superintendent of the West Covina Unified School District. I'm representing several board members, superintendents, parents, and other stakeholders who support SB 1432. I was asked to speak to you today because the West Covina Unified School District is a good model of district of choice. While there are varying numbers from varying districts, West Covina Unified School District has pretty much the same free and reduced amount of students who are leaving our district as are coming in, so the equity issue is somewhat null. I will tell you we have 600 students who are coming into our district, but we also have 300 students who choose to leave our district. So it really is a case in point for parental choice. I will tell you, as a superintendent representing our school board, it also causes us to ask the question, why are 300 students leaving the West Covina Unified School District? It's a good and valid question. We're addressing that. We don't think anyone should leave our school district. So in a sense, it's making us better. And the LAO report also shares that because of district of choice, districts are being forced, if you will, are choosing to get better. And in a sense, we are then serving all students and all parents, as we should be doing all along. We shouldn't need that to get better, but that's a reality of what this bill will continue to do. Also, interestingly enough, of that 600 who come in, 10% of our students actually come from private, charter, or homeschooling, which was the intent originally, kind of in the face of vouchers, just to start to bring some of those kids into your school district. Some of my colleagues who actually would come from what some would call affluent school districts are saying that actually the equity measure is becoming more equal because some of the students that they're drawing actually offsets their student population that would be their norm. So another positive. My fear is, and our fear, is that without SB 1432, you're going to close the door. You're going to shut off walls. And because of some inequity numbers, we understand that. But the reality is the students who would leave their home district because they don't feel their needs are being served are their parents, they're going to leave. As the superintendent and administrator in South Orange County for 20 years, I can tell you those mobile, well-informed parents and students are going to leave. They will use interdistrict transfer. They will use residence. They will go to charter. They will go to private. So in a sense, what we've done now is in my mind, we've trapped those kids that we're trying to open doors for by keeping those affluent students in, but they're going to leave. That experience has shared that. And again, quickly, we're looking at 10,000 students. It's actually minute compared to the 600,000 charter students, that we have. I would hate to see that small window of opening close. Obviously, the senator has mentioned all the amendments. We're trying to address that. You're trying to address that, and we appreciate that. I will only also say that the transportation bill also concerns us as school leaders, not only because of the financial impact that the money that was intended to educate those children will now be spent on transportation, but I will tell you, I have a personal concern of, and I'll use West Covina High School, but I speak for all of us, West Covina Unified School District buses rolling into my neighboring districts, picking up kids from my sister districts and hauling them to my district. It's going to alienate us, and I think the constituents of those home districts, the school board members and their representatives, are going to ask the question, why are we allowing this to happen? To be honest, it may even benefit the West Covina Unified School District because I will bring those money and those dollars in with us. That being said, I don't think that's right. I think there are better ways to solve that than me going in and taking those kids and their dollars out of those home districts and bringing them to me. So it's a concern, and the members I represent asked me to share that.
Next witness, you may proceed, sir.
Okay. Yes, so my name is Cecil Hernandez, and I'm from the Big Creek School District, Fresno County. And I brought my family with me. They're sitting right back there. I have a
Hello.
wife.
Welcome, family.
Anyway, so I'm an immigrant from Mexico, you know, and so as I was brought in, they threw me in the third grade. I didn't know one word of English, you know, except hot dogs, 7-Up, and no, right? They don't change. They're the same word. So having said that, I felt strong about teaching my kids English first. They're in the United States. They're going to learn English first. It doesn't matter. So they have. So now I'm going backwards. I'm trying to teach them Spanish, right? But they learned English first. Okay. So I take education serious. Okay. I guess that's where I'm going with that. Okay. So I have benefited from the district of choice. We were living in Big Creek, and then 5 years ago, we moved down the hill to another district. Well, at the time, two of my kids, my triplets, had IEPs. And I didn't want to put them in that district where they would go into a big classroom with 30-plus students, right, coming from such a small school, which, you know, average school class size would be 7 students, maybe less. So they had a lot more attention. So anyway, now 5 years later, they've tested, and they're up to grade level, you know, and so life is good, you know, because of that, you know, district of choice. So, and I ask you, you know, wouldn't you also prefer that for your children also, to have that option to send them to another school? I'm asking because that's how I feel. I feel I want to give my children the best, and I'm thinking you would too. I get passionate when it comes to my children. And, of course, I want to educate them, right? I don't want them to be a burden on the state. Yeah, so there you go. That's where I'm coming from.
Great. Good job. One of the better jobs today. All right. With that, we'll have others in support. Please come forward, state your name, position on the bill, your name, affiliation, and position on the bill only.
Mr. Chairman, Jeff Frost, representing the County Superintendent of Schools in Marin County in support, and he is a tough act to follow.
Tim Walker, Assistant Superintendent of Pupil Services and Special Education for the Riverside Unified School District. We're in support of the bill, have concerns as identified by Senator Huff in the area of transportation.
Good afternoon, Derek Lennox on behalf of the Small School Districts Association in support.
Kathy Rabin from the California State PTA, and we are in support of this bill.
Melanie Cuevas on behalf of Oak Park Unified, the school district with the largest amount of DOC transfer students, also in strong support.
Sam Castrino, a parent with Walnut Unified, and I support the bill.
Bob Rains, Superintendent, Shoreline Unified School District, in strong support.
Superintendent Rob Vorse from the Glendora Unified School District, in strong support.
My name is Frank Onosorgan. I'm the Principal Superintendent of Pawn Union School District, and I'm asking for your support of 1432. Thank you.
My name is Barry Kerner. I'm the Superintendent Principal at McKittrick Elementary School District, and I'm in strong support.
Michael Holsizer, on behalf of the Kern County Superintendent of Schools, want to thank committee staff and the author for working this out. We support the bill.
Good afternoon, Toby Waite, Superintendent Principal of Big Creek School, and our students here, and I urge your support. Thank you.
Michelle Hunter, Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Glendora Unified, in complete support of this bill.
Cindy Reese, Board Member, Walnut Valley Unified, and strongly support the bill.
Danny Kim, proud parent of 2 DOC students in Walnut Valley Unified. Looking forward to sending my 2 additional kids there in DOC program. Thank you.
Esther Hernandez, parents of the triplets, strongly support of the bill.
My name is Helen Hall, and I'm the board president for the Walnut Valley Unified School District, and I'm strong support of the bill, SB 1432. Thank you.
Bill Lucia, with that voice, respectfully ask for your odd vote.
Any opposition?
Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Dr. Linda Kaminsky. I'm the superintendent of the Azusa Unified School District, and we are a district of residents. We are strongly opposed to this bill because of the impact that the program has already had on us, which has been very negative. Some examples of that are, over the last 5 years, we've lost over 1,000 students, $23 million, 40 teaching positions, and the equivalent of having to close a number of schools just to try to deal with the financial impact of this. And it's not a financial impact that is well known in advance. We find out too late in the year to make the necessary adjustments in teaching staff or other staffing. We find out after the statutory deadlines for noticing people. That's not addressed in this bill. The other issue that we see, and we had some data that we submitted in a letter, there's a very strong negative impact on the racial and economic composition of the schools. The other school districts do take some of our low-income students, and some of in our district, we're 90% Latino basically, they take some of them, but not in the proportion to who exists in our district. The consequence is that we are becoming increasingly segregated. This program, while perhaps intended to allow people to have choice, has had the impact of increasing segregation. We see that day in and day out. We lose money, we're left with a more segregated school district and population of students that are more expensive to educate. That hurts us financially, but it hurts us in the programs that we can offer the students that remain in our district. It is not balanced between the district of choice and the district of residence. We should not have a policy in the state that advantages some districts to the detriment of others. That's fundamentally unfair. It's not part of who we are as Californians. We need to put in place programs and policies that work fairly. I'd like to close with a comment. We oppose this. We oppose the proposed changes because they are being done without data, without the evaluation. The evaluation by the LAO admitted it was incomplete. And yet the program changes are exacerbating the difficulties for district choice. They're advantaging one set of districts and hurting another set, creating greater segregation, creating continued fiscal problems that we cannot escape and can't even plan for sufficiently. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. Liz Guillen with Public Advocates. We opposed the bill. We opposed in 2009 for the same reasons. We were concerned that it was not really, the program is not really one of choice, maybe one of wishing, because what the witness in support said was right. Mobile and well-informed parents and families are the ones that take advantage of this choice. So if you don't have mobility and you don't have the information, which wasn't well required, you probably aren't. And in fact, the LAO did find that there were disparities, much like the prior witness spoke about, that have segregative impact. The fact that this program allows districts of choice to siphon off resources away from other districts really flies in the face of the way the state has chosen to provide education under the Constitution. It's doing it on a district basis, and then it says, oh, we're going to change our funding formula so that the students that have the hardest to educate, low income, English learners, foster youth, will get more money. In fact, LAO found that the initial reasons districts of choice looked to these programs were because of their concerns of declining enrollment and wanting economies of scale. It was the money. We oppose this. We think that transportation should be required. If the state wants to give a choice, make it meaningful, provide transportation.
Chauncey Smith, ACLU of California, respectfully in opposition. We'd like to thank Senator Huff for working with various stakeholders. We greatly appreciate that and the amendments that you are accepting. However, it seems as though, based on what was verbalized, that the program is still discriminatory against students of color and students of low socioeconomic status until the transportation is completely phased in. I believe the committee suggested that the program be extended for 5 years, and the phase-in is 3. So you have 3 years in which there's not full transportation for numerous students, and they're being discriminated against during that time frame, and then you only have 2 years left. To sum it up, justice delayed is justice denied, and this is going to harm students of color and the students that are most in need, and it's going to increase segregation in violation of our constitutional promise under the 14th Amendment of equality for all people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any opposition? Any other opposition? Please state your name, affiliation, and position on the bill.
Martha Zaragoza Diaz, representing Californians Together. I want to thank the author of the bill in terms of looking at amendments to address the issues. Our opposition was based on the low rates of participation of low-income students and Hispanic students, and so we will be looking at the amendments very carefully to see if that removes our opposition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Sue Ann Evans, legal counsel for Roland Unified School District. I was also the lead trial counsel in the Roland versus Walnut Unified that you may have heard about, and where the court recognized the import of the 10% cap.
Good afternoon. My name is Julie Mitchell. I'm the superintendent of schools in the Roland Unified School District, and we oppose the bill as presented as well as amended. We feel that the bill does increase segregation in our districts. It does not provide opportunities for students who are typically underrepresented, and there is significant work that continues to need to be done. The opportunities for parents for choice are immense through intra and inter-district transfer opportunities. We don't feel that this is a necessary bill. Thank you.
Leslie Smith, Association of Roland Educators. We strongly oppose this bill as proposed and amended, as it increases segregation that is harmful to students in both District of Residence and District of Choice. Segregation is increasing in both and is harmful to all students.
Good afternoon, Leilani Aguinaldo on behalf of Pomona Unified School District, Duarte Unified School District, and Charter Oak Unified School District in opposition. Thank you.
Great. Any comments from the committee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I make my comments and a couple of questions that I'll have, I do want to, in full disclosure, let everybody know I am the proud principal co-author of this bill. And I think the goal of the bill really is to help all students be able to succeed in school, later on in the workplace, and in life. And I would suggest that many of the comments offered by the opposition, I would suggest that the District of Choice program and much of what was written in the LAO, I had the exact opposite interpretation of the LAO's report, in that those are the very students that the District of Choice program and the statistics and data shows have been helped. So I first want to correct a misstatement that was made, and then I do have a question for the legislative analyst. One of the opponents to the bill indicated that they have no time to plan and adjust the budget. So I just wanted to point out that in the District of Choice program, a school has a one-year cushion, and you can choose to use your current ADA or your prior year's ADA in order to give the district time to adjust in their budgeting planning. So I just wanted to set the record straight on that. But to the analyst, we heard a lot of comments about students of color being harmed or increasing segregation, perhaps the districts of choice cherry-picking certain students that is harming other districts and leading to greater segregation. Can you explain that in the context of your full report? And did your research and findings support those statements, or did you find other information to be true?
Thank you, Assemblymember Olson, Mr. Chair, and members of the committee. Kenneth Capon with the Legislative Analyst's Office. As you heard earlier, the last reauthorization of this program required our office to examine certain aspects of this program and report back to you with our findings. And so we're here today to answer any technical questions like the one mentioned earlier about the program. So I think what I've heard is a lot of the concern is about the relative participation rates of students. So in other words, how frequently do students transfer relative to their share of their home communities? Our data did show that white and Asian students tended to transfer at relatively high rates. Hispanic and Latino students tended to transfer at somewhat lower rates. We're not exactly sure why that is. It could be different levels of interest in the program. It could be different levels of awareness of the option, different abilities to get to a different district. But stepping back from that for a minute, we found that the program has about 10,000 participating students. About 3,600 of them are white, about 3,300 are Hispanic or Latino, about 2,400 are Asian. So I think it was encouraging for us to see that all three of California's largest ethnic groups are represented among program participants. We think that's a sign that the program appeals to students from a variety of backgrounds across the state. In terms of the other part of your question, it might help to give a little comparative perspective. Most transfers take place through the interdistrict transfer permit system, and through that system, a district can really reject an applicant for any reason. Common reasons might be the student isn't doing well in school, they have poor attendance, or even the district thinks they're going to be more costly to educate than other students. The District of Choice program is different than that, in that a district that opts in has to agree to accept all students up to its locally approved limit, and then conduct a lottery if it's oversubscribed. We asked districts of choice to describe how they admitted students, and interviewees did indicate that they admitted all interested students as the statute requires. We found that about a third of districts had enough applications to conduct a lottery. The remaining districts were essentially accepting all students who applied. As really a check on that, we also looked at those districts' board policies and application materials. They also seem to be consistent with the statutory requirements. So hopefully that gives you some context about our findings.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. It's very helpful. And to the first witness in support, you mentioned, as did one other, the difficulties with the transportation amendment. And as we got the latest amendment, I'm pleased. I think it's a much better place than where we were at yesterday. But if you could expand a little bit, you pointed out some things that hadn't crossed my mind in terms of the challenges related to the transportation amendment. And obviously, we want to see this program continue to grow and robust and provide greater opportunities for students. So if you could articulate or expand on the concerns you have how the transportation requirement may limit the district of choice opportunities.
Well,
or may not.
Two factors, and mind you, this has happened so quickly. I've heard everything from $1,500 to $4,000 per year per student to come into our district, or the districts that I'm representing, to provide transportation. Those are raw numbers. CBOs went very quickly.
In addition to the ADA you would otherwise receive?
That is correct.
Okay.
The other issue that I talked about, again, is collegiality, and for a district that is concerned about a gleaning of their students. If the transportation rule goes in, a concern of mine is that now that students are going to have transportation into that district of choice, the numbers that they're going to lose, I believe, will grow exponentially to what they're losing now. So the problem just becomes significantly worse because you've now provided this avenue into the district of choice. Not that, and again, I feel that the district of choice, we're in the same business as everybody else. We're there to educate kids. Some parents choose to come to our district. In my case, some parents choose to leave. Either way, but if that availability of transfer into those districts becomes apparent, you will. My belief is, and my colleagues' belief is, you will see the district of choice numbers grow exponentially, and with those children, especially the lower socioeconomic kids, is going to come a significant amount of money, and the money that's going to be gained will also be lost. And that's a concern as a colleague, as an educator, not as a money game, if you will.
Very interesting. Thank you. Then as a follow-up, and this is my last question, back to the LAO, was there any analysis in your report as it relates to transportation? Did you find in your findings that maybe some students or parents were choosing not to use the district of choice option because of the lack of transportation? Was this at all a topic in the report?
I think that's a very timely question. By way of context, we found that most districts of choice, including most of the large ones, generally don't provide transportation either to students within their district or students who are transferring in. Some of the smaller, more rural districts did provide transportation. I believe we only found 2 that were actually sending a bus or a van or a vehicle into a neighboring district. Statewide, transportation isn't provided all that widely. Only about 1 in 12 students statewide receives transportation, so it's actually relatively uncommon for a district to provide it to any kind of student. It could be a factor in explaining some of the participation patterns that we see. If it's a topic that you're interested in learning more about, we could certainly look into that in our the next evaluation that's included in this bill.
Okay, thank you. I'll close with saying, if I could just close, I'll close with saying I never think the dais is the appropriate place to rewrite policy, but since the amendment has the transportation requirement not begin until 1920, then perhaps over the interim or next year the committee could study that further, and maybe that needs to be tightened up as it moves forward, because we want to make sure neither the district that's losing the student gets harmed or the district of choice. We want to make sure this becomes a viable program for as many students in California as possible. Thank you.
Further comments from the bill has been moved and seconded. Further comments from the committee members?
Yes.
Ms. Weber? Dr. Weber?
I've probably heard more about this bill in the last day or two than I've heard about all the education bills this year, including my own. So I'm tired of it, but exhausted when you're only talking about 10,000 kids. Let me just say that, from LA, there are things that were missing that I thought that I would love to have heard. And one is the performance of kids who go into these schools. Does it really make a difference from where they were in terms of achievement to going into these schools? We almost act like this district of choice is like winning the lottery, several $100 billion or something, and it's going to change your life forever. And I'm not sure if that actually happens. And so that's a concern that I have, because it seems as we've gotten away from the issue of achievement and performance and gotten into this number money game. Who gets money, who doesn't get money, who has kids, who doesn't have kids, and who grows and who does not grow. So I think to me, that's quite a concern. I was also concerned that there was not a tremendous amount of accountability with regards to these reports and the analysis that it should have been occurring all along. When I read the bill, because my staff talked to me earlier about it, and they were talking about diversity, and I said, well, let me see what the original says and what we have now. And, there was plenty of safeguards, I thought, in the early bill with regards to diversity, giving school districts the authority to deny enrollment if they felt it would have an adverse effect on the diversity of their schools, those sending and those receiving. And yet nobody or maybe somebody did, but it didn't appear as if anyone had ever exercised that right, or the data was coming in and saying, because if we're finding that schools are being more segregated than before, according to the original bill, those are grounds for which you can deny folks coming in and going out. And so it didn't seem as if anyone took advantage of that, and yet that's a major piece if that's the argument of those who talk about the issue of diversity and whether or not it's there. So if it is occurring, then I want to know, what are we going to do that's different to really get the research and the information done and the things done by LAO that we needed to happen? This bill has been in existence for a while, and yet we don't seem to have the kind of information that I would want to know about as to whether or not why kids are leaving, what's the rationale, does it improve the quality of education for them, or what's going on. If it's really resegregating, then obviously those are grounds for districts to raise issues and not allow students to be transferred out or in of their districts. And said, I don't see that happening, and yet those were some of the things that were written in the original document that should have been there. I agree with you that if you offer transportation, those who are concerned about children of color not having equal opportunity, and that those districts have already been rated to some extent, you're going to see more rating. Because when you offer transportation, that means those kids who live in certain neighborhoods are going to want to go out of those neighborhoods because it's easier to get to school. Parents will feel like, wow, I got somebody to take them, somebody to bring them home. And if you think you're going to see the numbers in terms of students, it's going to be increased, because transportation is always a driver of students choosing schools and parents choosing those schools. So I think it may have if you'll get more students, and that's fine if that's what you really want. But if your fear is that you're already losing too many students, you're going to lose even more. once you throw that transportation piece onto it, because that is going to be a factor, a major, and that was a factor in many of the integration programs over the years. When you saw, because kids did not have to walk to school, parents didn't have to take them to school, they didn't have to walk through dangerous neighborhoods, they could go to the corner, get on a bus, and be taken directly to the school and brought back home. And so that you're going to see that. I am concerned also that the money, and I'm going to support this because evidently people want it, but I'm concerned that the money that should be going into academics is going into exhaust fumes. That you're going to take the money that would when our supplemental grants that were supposed to design for kids who are poor, kids who need extra assistance, and you're going to put it into a bus. And then you don't even know if the bus ride is going to do anything in terms of closing the achievement gap. And so it's going to become quite an expense in terms of busing and riding. You know, I was in favor. I felt very strongly that what we should have been doing was basically reauthorizing this program, strengthening our accountability, looking at the LAO's report, and trying to make sure we're doing that. The other piece about busing and so forth and so on is another issue. As you pointed out, I mean, maybe I've given up on this integration story. I think I may have, over as old as I am, mainly because I've seen it in every piece there possibly can happen, and I haven't seen the achievement gap close. You know, I've seen the magnet schools, I've seen the integration, I've seen the this, I've seen the that, I've seen all that, I've seen the shuffling around, and in the end, we still have children that are not performing because we do all these things that are external to what we need to be doing. And so I'm not sure if this district of choice, which is a small amount of kids, when you look at it, it's a little bit amount of kids, really was worth all the conversation we've had. But I know it is to those whose parents, whose children are in the program. But in the overall scheme of California, it is a small program affecting a few students and a few districts. You know, and it may not have the effect that we want. And that's what I really want to know from LAO. Does this stuff matter? You know, other than just shifting people around and giving people choices, parents need to know, does this matter? And if it happens to be like it was with us in San Diego, with all the busing back and forth from poor schools to affluent schools and back and forth, we discovered in our integration plan that in every major school, there was a small poverty school inside of it. When we disaggregated the data, the kids who bused in had the same achievement level of the kids who didn't leave the neighborhood. And all that money and all that exhaust in the atmosphere didn't do a whole lot to help those kids.
Any further comment? Seeing no further comment, Senator, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's been a spirited discussion here, and most of the discussions happened before we ever got here. But, you know, it started off a simple process to extend a program. We needed data. We got the data. We've generated more questions. And I'm hoping we can move this forward another 5 years and collect the data. And I think Dr. Weber has articulated probably the crux of it all. Is it working? And I understand as we're going forward, CalPads will be keeping track of the data. So to the degree we have confidence in CalPads, we will have a better way to access data. And we can take that intelligent look in 3 years. Originally, it was going to be a 5-year look. It made sense to make it 3 years, so we had time to wind down the program or modify the program before the 5-year sunset. So it has a 3-year report back from legislative analysts to see, with the data that's assessed, whether this program is really working. There was a comment made that there's opposition because of low rate of participation. I would just stipulate there'd be zero participation if this program goes blank. So is that really what we want? Because it's only 10,000 students, but Dr. Weber also nailed it. For those 10,000 students, it is a big deal. And, you know, is it a significant difference, or is it they would have been the same in the existing schools? I don't know, but I believe you'll agree with me that attitude about education is probably the biggest driver. It comes from the family, and if you have a family motivated to make their kids achieve, even in the access of trying to look for what perceived to be a better school, they're going to be working and focusing more on the work that they do. And I think that's why I've been such passionate, in addition to having several schools in my district that are part of this, but I'm all for making public education work. Goodness knows we spend over half our budget on it, and we don't get what we pay for it yet. So any innovative way, whether it be charter schools, this, whatever, you know, I'm for trying it. But if it doesn't work, scrap it. But that's why we have to have better data. I will close with this. The community colleges have had open enrollment for the last 20 years, and the sky didn't fall, although some thought it would. When I was back in community college, I had to get to a higher performing, I had to go through the inter-district transfer period. I had to have the district I was leaving say okay, the district I was going to say okay. Now that's been blown up for 20 years. It's worked. I think this can work as well, but we're not asking the same thing. We're just putting some limits on it. And I forgot to clarify earlier, and I said 10%. It was reminded me during some of the testimony through working with the chair, we negotiated an 8% rolling cap. So it has come from 10 to an 8. I appreciate your working with me on that and all the things we did to make this a stronger bill. But at the end of the day, 3 years or 5 years from now, hopefully we've answered the question, does it work? And the next generation, you guys up here can make that decision because I'm termed out at the end of this year. But today I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. It's already been moved and seconded, so go ahead and please call the roll.
The motion is due pass with amendments to appropriations. O'Donnell?
Aye.
O'Donnell, aye. Olson?
Aye.
Olson, aye. Kim? Aye. Kim, aye. McCarty? Santiago? Aye. Santiago, aye. Thurmond? Weber? Aye. Weber, aye.